Was I truly that bad? Is this really what I deserve?
Oh my god! Are you seriously gonna blame me for something that everybody else did too?
You really were the lesser of the two. You ruined this.
Enough!
Good. Alright, so if you ever tell anyone about this, I'm never speaking to you again. Sound good?
Yeah, I won't.
Awesome, bye!
I just wanted to fulfill my purpose!
You're the one using me! You're manipulating me!
I was irresponsible. I turned them against me. And for what?
It's too late. I did this to myself. There's no coming back from this.
Hey, have you ever done something you regret? Done something where, whether it be in the moment or in hindsight, you knew you were in the wrong. You knew you hurt someone. How did you respond to that? If you were young, you might have run away, still carrying the guilt with you and having it form your actions to this day, even if, for an adult lens, it seems like a relatively small thing. I ask because there are a lot of ways to respond to guilt. That deep feeling in your gut that you screwed up. But the two kinds of ways I want to focus on specifically are the ones that appear in the finale of The Amazing Digital Circus. That of accepting and addressing guilt, and that of burying it. Leave a comment and subscribe to stop me from abstracting. Spoilers for the finale of The Amazing Digital Circus out the wazoo, and let's get into this. So, first up on our psychological torture roster, we have Jax. Jax is an interesting character throughout the series. Self-assigned comic relief and fandom-assigned Tumblr sexy girl, it's always obvious that there is more going on beneath the smile that they have plastered onto their face. Okay, so quick disclaimer on pronouns. It is in fact confirmed that Jax is a transgender woman. However, after this is revealed in the show, they still refer to Jax as he, him, and on the outside world, Jax still identifies as male. So I'm going to go with they, them pronouns as not to be insensitive or inaccurate to how the show describes them. Are we cool, Digital Circus fandom? Look, I'm an idiot, but my intentions are good, I promise. Quick recaps of Jax for context. I know most of you have seen the show, and that's why you are here, but to the two of you that haven't, this is for you. Also, I mean, the video wouldn't really be coherent if I didn't do this, so yeah. So, outside of one outburst where Jax obviously tries to come off as a cartoonish projection of a villain to push Pomni away, we never really get much from Jax's backstory outside of snippets and hints here and there. But then, in the finale, we get a deeper, literal peek into Jax's psyche. We learn that they grew up in a broken home, where the absence of their father led to Jax's mother creating an environment where they weren't allowed to be seen as anything other than the ideal hegemonic man. Weakness was mocked, emotion was guilt-tripped, and vulnerability was punished.
When I showed weakness, I was less of a man than him. When I lashed out, I was just as bad as him. It was confusing. It was like she missed him, but also hated him. And I became the target of all that.
This led Jax to seeing any perceived flaw they have as a direct threat to their character, which causes them to deny and bury them so that no one can notice them. This unfortunately includes any gender dysphoria that they may feel, as it is very much hinted that revealing that dysphoria to their mother caused her to dismissively laugh at them and then degrade them further. We know this because after the moment where Jax reveals all of this information to their friend Ribbit, and after a brief moment of acceptance and vulnerability, Kaufmo, another friend of Jax's, knocks on the door, and terrified that they may be perceived in this vulnerable state, Jax runs away from Ribbit after basically demanding that she never say anything about this to anyone. After spending a night panicking about the vulnerability they had just shown, they then spend the following days alienating and distancing themselves from Ribbit, telling her that everything they said was a lie and ignoring her in social settings, slowly becoming more cold and hostile until Ribbit feels completely alienated from the group and abstracts. The guilt of which then leads Jax to become even more closed off and distant with the other members of the circus, even asking Ragatha not to ever mention Ribbit's name again. When this attitude then leads to Kaufmo abstracting as well, Jax still can't allow themselves to feel vulnerable or hurt, even in their own company.
You're not looking too good. You gonna cry? Looking like this?
The thing is, while the way they deal with the guilt is unhealthy, the guilt itself is not misplaced at all. Ribbit and Kaufmo's fate are because of Jax. Their inability to be open also meant their friends felt isolated as well. Because while being fake and pretending to be perfect may look like it keeps you safe from others, it doesn't welcome others into your lives either. Walling yourself off doesn't keep the bad shit out, it keeps it in. And that is exactly what leads Jax to their fate. But if that's the bad way of dealing with the guilt of our actions, what's the good one? I'm glad you asked, mental manifestation of my past sins. Here is where we talk about the good one. Here is where we talk about... Caine is an interesting one here, and when you look into what his existence is, his actions throughout the series make a lot more sense. Caine is an AI created by a company in the 90s, and they gave him the ability to learn and grow and decided to train him on what society truly needed to improve. Nah, just kidding, they fed him a bunch of clown shit, taught him basic shapes, decided he was obsolete before locking him away because they failed to realise that he has sentience, and basically forced him to watch them work on his brother as his successor. Caine broke out, ate his brother, gained his power, and forced the company to shut down the project, leaving him on a server with nothing but a vague knowledge of what the world should kind of look like, a thin sense of purpose, a bunch of human brain scans, and a crippling insecurity that was given to him by the very same people that created his entire existence.
Making adventures is my art! It's all I exist to do, all I'm good at. And, what you're saying could imply that I'm bad at the only thing I'm good at, and that... that'd be...
Despite that insecurity though, throughout the show, Caine does try to understand the circus inhabitants. To the best of his ability. He asks them questions and even has a suggestion box in one episode. He tries as hard as you can expect him to, but he just can't get it. He has no concept of the outside world beyond what few pictures he was trained on, and while he's intrigued by the free will of his, screw it, let's just call them what they are, prisoners, he can't fully understand what it is due to limited knowledge. However, like I said earlier, that doesn't stop him from trying. In fact, it's after trying and failing to understand for so long that he has a realization that his inability to understand the humans will eventually cause them to abstract. That complete failure of his entire life's purpose seemed imminent and inevitable, leading Caine to snap, blaming the human expectations for being too high, accusing them of dooming him to an eternity of failure, ruining his chance to be better. Caine lashes out and forces them to attempt to delete him in self-defense. So, like Jax, we have a backstory of neglect which leads to an insecurity, which leads to lashing out, which leads to consequence. Where the paths diverge, however, is what comes after. Instead of trying to bury his guilt, Caine confronts it, questions it, briefly entertains thoughts of self-victimization before brushing them off and asking harder questions.
I was irresponsible. I turned them against me. And for what? I can create intelligent beings that do whatever I want, but I can't create them. After all, is their free will not what made them alluring in the first place? They're from a world so much bigger than mine. I'm keeping them locked in a cage.
And then he goes out of his way to seek answers. He looks into the lives of the people he's hurt. He looks at the world they come from and attempts to fathom what they are missing by being here in the circus. And from there, Caine goes on to sincerely apologize to the people of the circus. He gives them power and freedom, and a cool little detail, he stops flying over them and starts to walk on the ground among them. Starts to take part in adventures with them. He can't make the past better, but he can improve the future, so that's what he does. So, of our two examples here, we have one that is trapped within their own mind, refusing to see the outside and only viewing the world through the lens of their own trauma, hurt, and internal narrative. And then we have someone who is constantly grasping for other narratives, who is eventually willing to look at the pain they have caused and its consequences and ask how they got there in the first place. One seeks to run away and bury, and the other seeks to heal. But I can sit here and judge all high and mighty on these fictional characters, or I can give a similar example from my own life. Have you ever done something you regret? I sure as hell have. Lots of things. But when it comes to selfishness, hurting others, and taking accountability, I do have one story that's appropriate for a YouTube video. So, way back when I was a boy, like 6 or so, I got my mum one of those Mother's Day cards that you can record a message into, and in it I declared to my mum that she was the best mummy ever, and I loved her very much. Hugs and kisses, and just sheer unrestricted love that only a child can really give. 10 years passed, and a lot of trauma and hormones and other bullshit later. 16-year-old me is playing on his PS3 and hears a child's voice he doesn't recognise coming from his sister's room. Going to investigate, he sees her gleefully playing with the card from 10 years ago. She had somehow found it, and now my child voice was being broadcast multiple times a day from this card. My sister was about the same age I was when I recorded it at the time, and I was horrified. What if my friends heard it? My social life, what little I had of it, would be completely destroyed, and I worked hard to establish the social circle I had. If this got out, I'd be nothing. And she didn't just treat this like some new novel toy she found. No, she carried it with her everywhere. She opened it up everywhere, and it was only inevitable that I would eventually become the laughingstock of my school because it was played in front of the wrong person. People would see that there was a point in my life where I was vulnerable, and my ego would not allow that. So, one day, my mum and my sister went shopping, and for some reason she left the card behind. I picked it up, saw that there was a purple button on the back that would erase the contents of the tape, and after minimal hesitation, I pressed it. And I set it back where I found it, waiting for my sister to get home. And look, whatever, I mean, she probably wouldn't even notice, and if she did, I'll just tell her it's broken. She has other stuff, she'll probably just move on to the next toy she... When my mum and sister came home, the first thing she did was run over to that card and open it with a pure look of joy on her face. And then that joy vanished as the card made no sound. A moment of silence. She tried again. Silence. And then she broke into a cry of pure sadness. The kind of sadness only a child can express. A cry that breaks your heart to hear it. "What happened?" my mum asked. "I don't know, it's broken," I replied. The look on my mum's face clearly revealed that I was not as proficient in bullshit as I thought. "Can I talk to you in the kitchen for a moment?" she said. I followed in, expecting a bollocking of biblical proportions, but instead she looked at me tiredly. "Did you do it?" she asked. "No," I quick-fired. She sighed again. "You know why she liked that bloody card so much, Tom?" I didn't answer. "Because you are so fucking miserable all the time. Even when you're nice to her, you're miserable. That card was the only time she got to hear you be truly happy, and that lights up her world, Tom, because you're her world." It was true. My mum and I butt heads a lot, but she was spot on here. I was the big brother that my kid sister never shut up about. She looked up to me, and I just hurt her. Took joy away from her. For what? My ego? I quickly started to feel like an asshole. My sister was still crying, so my mum took her to go get some sweets to make her feel better, leaving me alone with the card, and my nonchalant, edgy teenage projection completely fucking shattered, and I started bawling my eyes out in guilt. Much has changed since then, but I was brought up in a conservative Christian family, so naturally I prayed to God to restore the tape. Nothing. I was so desperate I even asked the devil for help. Nothing. And after about 10 minutes of crying and pleading to the cosmos to undo what I did, I noticed something. On the back of the card where the purple button to delete was, there was a message. Press the button to delete. Hold the button to re-record. I knew what I had to do. Luckily, my sister had played the damn thing so many times that I knew the words of my childhood self beat for beat. So I cleared my throat, put my voice to the highest octave I could, channeled the amateur voice acting experience I had, and re-recorded the message, declaring that my mum was the best mummy ever, and that I loved her forever and ever with hugs and kisses, mimicking the unrestricted love that only a child is really capable of. When my sister came back, she still looked sad. I gave her the card and said, "I fixed it." She looked at me doubtful, and I said, "You know how I'm good with computers. I fixed it." And that seemed to be enough to convince her. She gave it a go, and when the voice played and the message could be heard, she beamed and gave me the biggest hug a girl of her size could muster. She gave me so many thank yous, to which I could only respond with, "Yeah, of course." And days later, my nightmare scenario happened. My best friend came over to pick me up for school, and there she was, sitting there, playing with the card as we walked past. He stopped, looked at the card, and said, "That's you." And I said, "Yeah, man, I was like 6 or whatever." My sister, ever the pro with comedic timing, played the card again, and my friend said, "No, mate, that's you," getting ready to laugh his arse off at me, and to my surprise, I didn't feel embarrassed. I looked over at my sister, who didn't seem to notice us, and she had this big smile on her face as she played the card again, and then I looked back at my friend, and with all the truth and emotion in my heart, said to him, "Who fucking cares, man?" And you know what? He didn't bring it up again. My sister is a woman now, and I have told her this story, to which she finds no small amount of amusement, but I can never apologise to the little girl I hurt. I can never get that original recording back. Sometimes, all you can do is patch up what you can and face the consequences. Running from your mistakes and perceived flaws doesn't fix anything. It only burns bridges, and eventually, when you're out of bridges to burn, you'll find yourself left all alone on an island with no one willing to reach out. Look, no one lives their lives without hurting anybody. It just can't happen. But when it does, What kind of person will you be? Will you react with ego, trying to preserve a fictional perception of yourself that only isolates you? Or will you acknowledge that pain, carry it with you, and learn from it? We have all suffered trauma, some worse than others, and whatever pain you're carrying, I'm truly sorry you have it. It's not your fault it's there. You never got a choice in how it hurts you, but you do get a choice in how it hurts others. Don't underestimate the people in your life, because in my experience, letting true loved ones see your pain gives you a chance to do something that I once never thought possible. You get to sit with it, look at it, and see it's not so bad. That maybe everything's going to be alright. Thanks for watching. Well, this has been an interesting few months. Originally I was working on my Darksiders 2 video, which is set to be the longest video I've ever made. Then, to get over the writer's block, I started writing 2 shorter videos to keep the brain juices flowing, and then the last episode of the Amazing Digital Circus came out, and I swore I wouldn't make a video on it because I was sure that everyone and their mother was going to be making videos on it. But after a few days at the time of writing this, damn it, I have some thoughts that just would not leave my head. So, here we are. Thank you so much for watching to the end, guys. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already, and come check me out on Tom's Talking Twitch, where I am streaming Dragon's Dogma. You can find me on Blue Sky and TikTok as Tom Trope, and that's all from me, guys. May life reward you for all your hard work. Peace. Oh no! 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 We are not ready to fight fucking Saurons in the wild. Fuck that.